And our weather has been crazy this week. We've had really cold temperatures, and now today it's like almost 80. So that's a Southern Illinois thing, I'm pretty sure. Um, they say that if you don't like the weather in Southern Illinois, stick around because it's probably going to change in the next couple of days, and that's pretty much true. Anyway, I wanted to dig a little bit deeper about cannabis and pulmonary fibrosis. And the reason why is because a very good friend of mine, her husband has pulmonary fibrosis and was just recently had a really serious exacerbation of that or worsening of his symptoms and ended up in the hospital and went home on oxygen. So, I wanted to just see a little bit more about whether or not there is a possibility that we could use CBD or cannabis in the setting of pulmonary fibrosis. So there is a study. It was done in 2021 by the European Journal of Pharmacology, and they looked at the potential of cannabinoids and how cannabinoids will inhibit the breakdown of endocannabinoids in our system. So they looked at the phytocannabinoids of THC and CBD. They looked at our endocannabinoids, which are our endogenous cannabinoids that we make on our own. And those, if you've not heard me talk about this before, just as a reminder, two of those, there's two endocannabinoids that we make. One is AEA, which is anandamide, which is called your bliss hormone or your bliss endocannabinoid, and the other one is 2AG. So those are endocannabinoids that mimic cannabinoids that we make ourselves on demand. So they looked at, again, they looked at the potential for phytocannabinoids, THC and CBD. The endocannabinoids are AGA and our 2AG, or AEA and our 2AG, sorry. And then they also looked at synthetic cannabinoids. So there have been some pharmaceuticals that have been manufactured that are synthetic cannabinoids. And these are artificially produced substances. So, just to try to keep this really simple, this article was very in depth. I mean, it took me several days to try to weed my way through it. Weed, no pun intended. But to try to get through it, and then actually, it should have been weave, not weed. Anyway, I haven't been doing anything today either. I've just been to work. So, anyway, um, I just to keep it simple in a nutshell. So, the cells and the pulmonary arteries that are in our lungs have both receptor sites. They have CB1 and CB2 receptors. This is very important. So, inside our lungs, all the lining of the lung, all the arteries that live inside the lungs have CB1 and CB2 receptors. So when you're talking about a respiratory disease, as we already mentioned, there's usually constriction of the airway and there's also inflammation because that's the nature of the disease. So in this study, they measured the respiratory effects after smoking marijuana, and it was shown that the structures actually dilated for 15 minutes to 1 hour after smoking. So this is pretty significant, I think, because you've got a situation where you can barely breathe. Who would think of putting smoke in their lungs in that situation? But in this study, they had the study participants smoke, and 15 minutes to 1 hour later, they actually were able to breathe better because the vessels dilated. So they got wider. In the setting of pulmonary diseases, they're usually constricted. So they're small. There's my hand. They're small, but with the addition of the cannabinoids, they enlarged. So that made the air pass easier through the structures. It made the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide easier. So the theory is that the CB1 receptors were activated in the airways that resulted in the dilation of the airway. And we also know from quite a bit of research now and from several things that I've talked about on here is that CBD and THC are anti-inflammatories. So with all these lung conditions, inflammation is a key factor that exacerbates poor respiration. So they get inflamed, their airways constrict, they can't breathe, they have to use an inhaler or a steroid or oxygen or something like that to enable better respiration. So in the setting of pulmonary fibrosis, cannabinoids are being considered as anti-fibrotic agents. So fibrosis, we want to get rid of it. So they're talking about, can cannabinoids actually assist in the process of relaxing those tissues, decreasing the inflammation and the scarring, and enabling that person to be able to breathe easier. So the only thing is and you can't just get by with just using CBD. You got to use THC, but because CBD will not result in bronchodilation of the tissues. So it's THC, hands down. So how are you going to consume cannabis if you have a breathing problem, right? Smoking is the fastest way to achieve relief, but it's the hardest on the lungs. So if you're going to get a pipe and you're going to put a fire to it and you're going to inhale that, you're probably going to have some irritation going on. You could also smoke a joint, which, again, there you are, you have irritation going on. Vaporizing or dry herb vaporizing is really the best way to go, hands down, for any condition, honestly, because in this setting, you put your flower in your device, you turn it on, it heats it up. The heat causes the smoke to develop. It's not fire, so you're not inhaling that flame or the butane from the lighter or any of that stuff. So it's a much cleaner way to use cannabis, and vaporizing provides very rapid relief, just like smoking. Now, you can also do edibles, and we know that the onset of action of edibles is going to be about 1 to 2 hours. So if you're in a bind, you're in a tough spot, you don't want to wait 1 to 2 hours to get some relief. So, but if you have trouble sleeping and you cough while you sleep or you can't breathe while you sleep, eating an edible before bedtime that's mostly THC with a little bit of CBD is going to help for that 6 to 8 hour period of time when you need to get a good night's rest, and it will help you do that. It honestly will. And then the other thing is that you can use a tincture or an oil underneath the tongue. The onset is about 15 to 30 minutes. It's super easy to take that way. You get that pretty fast onset of action. It's only going to last maybe 2 or 3 hours, though, so you'll have to repeat that dose. But that's it in a nutshell for pulmonary diseases. If y'all are listening to my stuff and you want to know more, or you want to know about a specific topic, please let me know. I do an awful lot of research before I do these talks, and I have to have some time. Obviously, I don't know this stuff off the top of my head by any means. I'd be a genius if I did that, but I do want to prepare, and I want to deliver the best information that there is out there for whatever it is you need to know about. So please let me know what you'd like to know about, and be sure you comment on the video. So again, it will boost the algorithm, because we have to worry about Facebook algorithms. So that is that. And don't forget, I am a health and wellness coach with an emphasis on plant-based medicine, including cannabis, CBD, and essential oils. So if you're struggling with something and you need some help, you can go to my website and book an appointment. I did have a little problem, though, with my patient intake form. So if you decide you want to do that and you get some weird form with somebody else's information on there, just let me know and I'll send you the right one. I can't figure it out. I actually tried earlier to figure out how to change it in my scheduling program, but I couldn't figure it out. I'll have to think about that later. Anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, and help break the stigma with me, okay? All right, y'all have a great weekend.